Black with Nahaja Black is sponsored by the Cancer Treatment Centers of America, BTC, Boost Academy, Flower Retreat and Spa, J.S. Johnson, and Awak X. By the Cancer Treatment Centers of America, BTC, Boost Academy, Flower Retreat and Spa, J.S. Johnson, and Awak X.
Good afternoon, Bahamas, and welcome to the hit Nahaja Black. I hope that everybody's well, taking care of themselves, living their best life. I hope that everybody's doing the best that they can to be as great as they need to be in this day and time. Hope that everybody's doing well. Big news day, okay? Big news day. Obviously, unless you were asleep most of the day, you worked a night shift and you just woke up, you missed some big news today. The big news this morning was, of course, at somewhere, and I have to look and share what time we got the information as media to show up. Because to me, that was where it all started, right? You're minding your own business and whatever happens is whatever happens. It's a Wednesday. We knew that the Speaker of the House would be doing this open session, right? Open Parliament session today. And we got a notification at 9:02. This was forwarded to one of the groups that I'm in, and saying that today, Wednesday, 9:30 a.m., the House of Assembly, through the Commissioner of Police, who was the Provost Marshal, that Provost Marshal will read the proclamations from the Governor General. This began the speculation. This began all of the speculation of what's going to happen this morning, right? The speculations were, are we dissolving the House for this early elections that the Speaker called? Curious enough that it would be at 9:30, not curious enough, but very much something we noticed that at 9:30, that it was happening right before the Speaker's open session, right? This open Parliament thing that would give the members, and someone says 53 minutes notice, give their members of Parliament would have to answer to the people and whatnot. But this was something where I didn't even realize to what extent how many of these political parties would be showing up to be a part of this open session, right? And this open Parliament. So this now is happening. We get that the announcement will happen at 9:30, where this open Parliament session was to happen at 10 a.m. with Speaker Halson Mutri, who has said that his purpose in doing this is to give the people a voice. Now, don't forget, in the House of Assembly, this administration, as I believe others have abused the system, have not done answer and question periods, right? So question and answer periods, which is on the agenda of the House of Assembly. Many questions independent member Reese Chipman brought before the floor. These things were not answered until the Speaker then decides to become an independent Speaker. And then whoop, there it is. There's a lot of malfeasance, or a lot of things that are not happening in accordance to what should be. But the Speaker has turned the page and the tide and has shifted some of the powers to the people. All right, now we have the announcement at 9:30. House of Assembly today, effective at this moment, through the Governor General, has been prorogued. What does prorogue mean? That is the end of the session of the House of Assembly. The session for us, from whenever they took office and went into the House of Assembly, its first seating, to today, or everything up to yesterday, or the moment when it was prorogued. All of those things that happened in between, that's the session, right? So there are many bills and I'm still working out to get that information. And I asked a good friend of mine and a colleague to help me with getting how many bills are left or were left tabled in the House of Assembly, because to prorogue the House means that all of those bills are done away with. All of those bills in part are not going to, they're gone. They're yesterday's news, right? So to prorogue the House is not a small feat. To prorogue the House is ending a session and ending anything that was happening in and during that session. What about the Ombudsman's bill? What about, there's like 3 or 4 bills. We came into session. If you remember, the Prime Minister, we then came into session to talk about and enact and execute an emergency orders or powers, right, to this preparedness bill that is now in consultation. What is the status of that bill? Was that tabled? If it was tabled, to prorogue it means to have ended it. Okay, none of this makes sense unless there was a dissolution, right? Why don't just dissolve the House? But no, there was not even a date set, right? Marijuana is not legal yet. No. What happened to that bill? What happened to that? Was it tabled? Right? Someone was saying, oh, that wasn't tabled. Last time I checked, I thought that was pretty tabled. But so now what happens to all of those bills? He prorogues the House through the Governor General's declaration, right? And we're sitting here wondering to what end, to what purpose. But this is where it gets suspicious for me, ladies and gentlemen. The media that is being told this, now there was no new date set. There was no date set at that moment at 9:30. Now, normally, or procedure would dictate that if you're not going to dissolve, then set the date at this time also for the new session. When are we going back into the House, right? Because you cannot run a country without any sort of parliamentary oversight. What would the Prime Minister and his cohorts and the government decide to do? How do we deal with the deeply embedded issues of a pandemic that continues to take the lives of people? I learned today a 34-year-old attorney from the AG's office has passed away. I also found out that another attorney that had contracted cost her father in the fight with COVID-19. I found out last night that yesterday that a friend of mine, a friend of our family, lost both his mother and father from COVID-19. This is not a game. We are in the throes of a pandemic, and just yesterday, the medical team wanted the media in the hospital. We play in these kinds of games. So what is the plan? There was no plan. Tick tock, tick tock. We, the media, were told, stay still, stay tuned, don't leave. There's going to be another sort of announcement. That's what we were getting, that there was some sort of announcement or something that was coming right away. So then we see the police officers come, and so we get this information that they're being moved, that the speaker is going to be removed from the porch and whatnot, yada yada. So then we're watching this. The speaker goes into the House. We see the officers go into the House, and so we're thinking maybe there's just another declaration. Maybe there's a discussion on. Maybe there'll be a dissolution of the House coming right now. No, the speaker comes out of the House of Assembly to tell us, all of us, that he was to be removed, but that there was no law by which he could be removed. So now, ladies and gentlemen, all of the things that you might have been thinking becomes obviously and painfully clear, right? Obviously and painfully clear. That in my estimation, the Prime Minister was playing a political game to embarrass the Speaker and to stop what was happening right there at the Parliament. You know why I say that? Because if that wasn't the case, you would at least not scramble hours later at 2 o'clock to come back, even worse now, and say that we are going to have a new session. Ding dong. It didn't occur to you? Did you not understand the Constitution well enough to know that that was something that you needed to do? Ding dong, why do it in the first place? To play a game, to be spiteful, to not want people to speak? What is the purpose of proroguing the House now? Tell me, pray tell, what is the purpose? You're not ready to resign. You're not ready to call election. So then what are we doing? What are we doing? Playing politics? Going to hell? The people are dying in droves. Doctors are crying out. Nurses are crying out. Doctors Hospital tells us they have to choose whom to which they can give oxygen, ventilators. We had media walking through the hospitals, and this is what you decide to do the day after? Some have said this is to cover Redwood Wells. If this is the tactic to cover a story on Redwood Wells, my God, what other technical or tools would you need to use to do other things? Ladies and gentlemen, I believe that this behavior is a microcosm of the entire culture of this administration. I believe that this behavior shows that if you would use political powers to this way for no purpose, you came back. You came back, called the House out of its resting session, out of its recess to do business. When you took too long to get to the business, whilst people were dying, you took too long to acknowledge a third wave. You took too long just to get 18 beds. You took too long to get another tent. You took too long, but when you finally decide to show up, you do one or two little piecemeal things. We don't resolve the issue. You finally do get us more vaccines. Thank God for that. But are you on the ground knocking, persuade Bahamians to get vaccinated? But we gonna do this foolishness? We gonna do this? How is this administration so detached from reality? Some say it's a distraction. But a distraction from what? Who can be distracted from when your neighbor's dying or when your cousin is sick in bed, when you got family members fighting for their lives? Who could be distracted? Where is the compassion? Where is the understanding? This, to me, is one of the most egregious moves, if not well explained. Explain it to me, please. Explain it to me. Because, ladies and gentlemen, I am lost for words. But not really, because I got a whole speech. You can't be that lost for words. But I can't figure it out. To me, this is where I say that this prime minister, my prime minister, who I marked my X next to, his name, Dr. Hubert Minnis Kalani, got to go. I can't say it any better than that. Let me tell y'all something. I believe in one thing and one thing only. I believe in God. I believe in only him who saved me. I don't try to save other people. The Bible says one man sows, one man water, but it's he who brings the increase. Y'all don't hear me on the show preaching. I don't preach to y'all. You'll go to Jesus for yourself if you believe in him. But you know what I ain't never is? I've never been scared. You know why I ain't scared? Because when I wake up in the morning, I know who's the breath and the life and the source. I know where I get everything in my house from. Didn't have to do nothing with no one untoward to be as blessed as I am, only through the favor and the mercy of God. So the purpose and the function has to be to speak for those who can't speak for themselves. There are people who are trying to quarantine but live in a 2-bedroom apartment or 1-bedroom apartment, haven't worked for over a year. There are people today who are mourning so intensely from losing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 relatives, but still working on the front line, but their name ain't made the list. There are people today who are struggling to feed their children, trying to sell themselves for food, and you're doing this level of foolishness? Nah, man. Nah. No. We don't have time for this. This country is suffering. These people are suffering. Not all are blessed and fortunate to quarantine in place. Children are getting abused and molested. We can't arrest people. Courts are shut down because of COVID outbreak. Court number 11 shut down because one of the main persons in it came up positive, but no real announcement to staff. Magistrates say I ain't coming to work. I got voices. When you're the sole breadwinner, how you could stay home? You got to work. But you're getting $100 from the government. That's supposed to save people. But instead of being proactive with this virus, you're reactive. Now people are dying in hallways, hollering on screen, doctors pleading for us to do things that many Bahamians don't want to do. But we ain't doing nothing with education. What's the educational plan? You ain't getting your feet dirty. You only going out to campaign. You got to go. I'm sorry, I don't care how you get offended. I don't care what you say. I am done. We don't have time for people to be politically correct when people are really dying. You gonna play this game, prorogue in the house. What you do that for? And then hours later, you gotta come back to show face for the session, the same session, the 22nd of September. The 22nd of September. That was when they were supposed to come back originally. And y'all could call this a new session. What a time. What a time. What a time. I got my good friend CA in the background, but I'll bring CA on. CA, give me a couple minutes. Let me bring on Chester Cooper. Because today, listen, y'all, but I knew I had to say what I had to say. And at this point, I am not apologizing. I'm not going to walk a line on this because somebody this is foolishness. We can't be playing politics when this is people. You play that game when you have room to spare. We are running in a deficit of the people's trust. a deficit of the people's trust, a deficit in responsibility. Mr. Cooper, when you're ready, just let me know. I see you getting settled, so let me know when you're ready. Someone says, watching from quarantine in Havana, Cuba. Boy, I tell you, people dying. People are dying. A 34-year-old attorney, bright minds. The future children are being unborn because their mother is dying whilst giving birth. Babies are dying coming out of the womb. This, I don't have it in me anymore. I don't have it in me anymore. Chester, I see you trying to get sorted out, so we'll do this. In the meantime, let me bring on CA. CA.
Hey.
I know I said a mouthful. Your thoughts.
Yes, you did. I see you seem impassioned. You know, I usually men try to mansplain and call women emotional. And I dare not ever call you that, to diminish you and belittle you for that, because you're not an emotional creature. You think things through. You can consider things, and you're very sober in your approach. But something happened today that has vexed you to the point that you are expressing yourself clear.
Oh, right? Yeah.
You're not mincing any words. And I am concerned. I feel for you. I understand your passion, and I hope things works out to the point where you get some answers. You get some answers that you don't stay in this and coming back to that word, that emotional state, right? And I'm not meaning to say it like as if I'm demeaning you or belittling you. I sense that something happened that caused you to say you need to voice your concern and let it be known throughout the Bahamas. You know, and I'm listening, and I'm trying to understand and appreciate what you are saying.
Yeah, well, and to what you're saying, at some point, sometimes you got to be emotional, though. And emotional with full knowledge of what's going on. See, that's my thing, CA. People think that everything you know, you speak. You don't. A lot of us don't speak everything we know. And sometimes when you see the spilling, when you see the outpouring, it is that level of frustration that reaches that says, enough is enough. Today was disappointing to me. And I didn't even know I could be disappointed any longer or any more so by this administration, but I was disappointed. You know why I was disappointed with this move?
Explain
because it served no purpose. What was the purpose?
And I hear that argument. It served no
what was
purpose.
The purpose of this?
But perhaps you just haven't that's the extra shoe have not dropped as yet for you to understand what is.
But you know what that shoe would be? That shoe would be a political shoe. A politics, a gamesman political shoe. Fine, I understand that politicians play politics.
Yes.
Okay? Politicians play politics, but we are in a national and international crisis. There is a time to play games. You could have easily ignored. If the speaker vexed you so, ignore them. Let the people do what they do.
So you believe this is all about the speaker and not that the government had an agenda that they wanted to bring forth? You think it's that petty that is about the speaker? I mean,
but the agenda,
it can't be just that.
You know, but explain to me then, but the agenda that they wanted to bring forth, which they came out of the House for, was the emergency powers and preparedness. Did they finish that?
No.
Okay. So what happened to that?
I do not.
Do you need a new session for that?
You do.
No, you don't.
No?
You don't need a new session for that.
But see, this is my theory, and I've been thinking hard on it because I know you're going to put the question to me on what is it that the government is intending to do, and I do not know. I really do not know what it is that this government is.
But should we know?
Yes, we should know. It should be clear, and that we say, okay, I see why they're doing it. But I think that the government's current agenda or former agenda was so broad that they realized they was not going to be able to finish it. So they, and for lack of better words, collapsed the entire session in order to get a smaller agenda, something that can be finished within the next 8 months.
Do you understand how this whole thing works?
Well, I'm trying to make an explanation.
Okay, all right, go ahead.
Yeah, I put up a case.
That's a bad case.
That's a bad case? But let me explain it all the same. That they have a long agenda, right? I'm trying my best now. And it was so broad and lengthy that they collapsed this particular session in order to bring back another one. Uh, when I'm reading what she is saying, with a shorter agenda that they are able to accomplish and finish. I'm surely that is what is happening right now. I'm not saying that, but like I say, let's go with that. It must be that they needed a shorter time, a shorter list of things to accomplish, right? And this is what they plan to do, and I'll go with that, and I'll I would go with that, Nahaja. How did that sound?
That was bad. That was bad. That was bad.
I need more work.
This is, again, what's so frustrating, right? The last thing we need. Oh my God. This isn't, why is this administration making it seem as if it's so hard to govern? Like, why? Like, if it was so much work for them to govern, they should resign. Like, seriously, someone should say, I can't do this. Because they're really making it seem as if they have no idea. Because this is blatantly politics. The fact that you wanted the media to wait, but there was no announcement, Cecil. The only thing left that was to do, apparently, was to have us wait and be carted off in handcuffs. That was the only thing left for us to do. Why have us wait when you had no announcement other than to come to us at 2:00 to tell us that there will be a new session after the uproar of there being no new session? Chester Cooper, I see you there. Wave if you're ready, Chester. We got CA. Be right back with you. Chester, welcome to the Hit Back.
Thank you for having me. Had a little bit of technical difficulty. I'm sorry, but I think that was good. It allowed you to blow off some steam. I saw the Lord works in mysterious ways.
he allowed me to get it off my chest for sure. Listen, I want to get your thoughts, right? I want to get your thoughts. Chester Cooper, Member of Parliament, Deputy Leader of the Progressive Liberal Party. As the opposition today, what did you expect? Did you expect this news today? Did you see this coming?
Well, we had heard that there would be some announcement of some proclamation today. We didn't quite know what to expect. But we thought there would be something substantial. We thought there may have been dissolution of parliament, that the Bahamian people are ready for an election. And we thought they would have taken this opportunity to do just that. I don't know what will happen tomorrow. This is a government I take day by day now. But I think suffice to say, that it was, we were left asking, where's the beef? We were asking what just happened? What was the purpose of it? And why did it happen? Maybe we'll have clarity tomorrow. But in the meantime, it seems like some maybe fight between the Prime Minister and the Speaker. We're not getting involved with the child's play. We think there are significant problems facing our country in terms of the pandemic, in terms of the surge that we're seeing, in terms of the hurt that's still being inflicted on the Bahamian people. And I hope that they would find their way and lead during this time, because this is what the nation needs.
Chester Cooper joining us. The thing is, Mr. Cooper, we are, like I said, I was disappointed by the whole process. Do you see any reasoning behind this movement as opposition? I mean, apart from did you see any reasoning behind it?
The one thing I know was that the Speaker today had intended to do something he called open parliament, where Bahamians would have come to the square and voiced their issues or concern. We had no intentions of participating, but anything that allowed the Bahamian people to have a voice and to really express their views, I consider to be a good thing. Perhaps it wasn't seen that way by the administration. And perhaps what happened today was designed to interrupt that. Or perhaps this was the first stage in the dissolution. And perhaps we will see more tomorrow. So we're not on the inside of the thinking of this Prime Minister. But what we do know is that the Bahamian people are tired of what seem like games. They want to get it on with. Whatever the business of the country is, that's what they want to get on with. And remember, this is a prime minister who promised fixed election dates. He promised freedom of information. He promised transparency, accountability. He promised that he would fight corruption. And these are the issues right now that confront the Bahamian people. We still have many people who are very sick and dying. We have hospitals that are overcrowded, doctors and nurses who are overworked and underpaid. We have a minister of health who's giving the COVID money to his driver and his secretary, whilst doctors who were in the throes of the fight against COVID get no honorarium. So, I mean, we're at a bad place right now in our country, in my view. And I think it's time for us to press the reset button. And if the prime minister calls election, I believe that would do the hearts of the electorate and Bahamians everywhere well, if I might put it that way.
You know, I said something. Well, let's take the break. Let's take the break. And when I come back, I'll ask this question, because with all of my opening mantra, my monologue, right? What others would call my opening salvo or rant. With all of that, my thing is, at the end of the day, even if you say, Chester Cooper, we want the elections called, you know what I got a lot of? And replace him with who? And I want to get to that with you, because this is where we are, you know, where the Bahamian people are asking, where should we put our confidence? Is the Progressive Liberal Party where we put our confidence? Is I'm gonna get, everybody's a doctor nowadays. Is Philip Brave Davis, a leader that we can trust? Because this prime minister said it was the people's time. And we are still, as one of the people, Chester Cooper. I'm trying to figure out if my watch stopped working. But we'll ask and we'll discuss that on the other side of the break. You're listening to the Hit Back with Nahaja Black. Chester Cooper joining me. Let's talk. We'll be back right after this.
The views and opinions of the host and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the position of the management and staff of Guardian Network.
Beulah gal, can you believe this? We are now the patrol queens of the neighborhood.
We now large and in charge. So we need to check out what's going on in everybody's yard. What about that gun that we know that Junior and his homeboys just ran out? Can we report that too?
Of course.
We could be in deep trouble if they find out.
We need to report what we see, Beulah. When you call Crime Stoppers, they just answer your call in Miami.
So then we can report everything? Guns, where they hiding the drugs, who shoot who part of which gang, or who disturbing the peace with the loud music and the motorcycles.
Then our neighborhood will be the best in the Bahamas. And everybody gonna want to come live here. And then our house price will go up, gal.
So what we waiting on? What's the number?
If you see something, say something. Let us all pitch in and stop the crime before it's your time. Call 328-8477 from Nassau or 242-300-8477 from the Family Islands. Or text us through the Crack Crime Bahamas app. Stop the crime before it's your time.
Potential loss adjusters managed his claim and got him the settlement he deserved. Sierra's roof received hurricane damage. Thanks to Prudential, she and her kids are happy with their claim settlement. Tammy fractured her ankle in a slip and fall. Prudential saved her time, money, and peace of mind. Prudential loss adjusters are here for you whenever a tragedy strikes. Call 322-4026 now.
Protect the things that really matter to you. Shield Insurance is the insurance company that grows with you to meet your insurance needs. Adventure we call life. From automobile to home to life and health, boat, liability, construction, and business insurance, Shield has affordable policies, flexible options, friendly service, and the expertise to protect your hard-earned assets. Shield Insurance agents and brokers in Nassau, call 356-7202 or Freeport 352-5945.
No matter how careful you are, sometimes accidents happen. When it comes to your auto insurance coverage, we know what you need. At J.S. Johnson Insurance Agents and Brokers, we provide superior customer service through a quick and efficient claims department that you can trust to get you quickly and safely back on the road again. J.S. Johnson Insurance Agents and Brokers, giving you peace of mind.
When I got prostate cancer, my family didn't know if I was going to live. At Cancer Treatment Centers of America, within days, I got an appointment. They presented me with treatment options, and we set up a robotic prostatectomy. When my scans came back, there are no signs of cancer. They don't see you as a number in family. I'm going on with my life. That's a real gift.
Call us at Cancer Treatment Centers of America.
It's the Hit Back with Nahaja Black. It's the Hit Back with Nahaja Black. It's the Hit Back with Nahaja Black. It's the Hit Back with Nahaja Black.
And we're back. You're listening to the Hit Back with Nahaja Black, Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Chester Cooper, Member of Parliament for Exuma and Ragged Island. Yeah. Chester, thank you so much for joining us on the show. Opposition Deputy Leader of the Progressive Liberal Party. All right, let's go with that, Chester. The question is, replace this. I have my position. As someone who voted for them, I have my position. Right now, I've said what I had to say on that. However, there are a lot of people who are saying, okay, and I mean my friends, my circle, but then vote for who? Who are we voting for? Is there an issue? Do you, as a member of the Progressive Liberal Party, as a deputy leader, that there is an issue with credibility on your side as the Progressive Liberal Party? Do you believe that Bahamian people think that you can do differently or better than this administration?
Well, let me acknowledge that there's a frustration with politics and politicians generally. But let me say that we will govern in line with our commentary. We have laid out plans led by our COVID task force on the health crisis. We have laid out economic plans as to what we would do under the circumstances. We are the government in waiting. We have studied what went wrong. We spent a lot of time talking about what went wrong and what they could have done better. We are ready to serve. We are ready and willing to serve. Our leader, the Honorable Philip Brave Davis, has experience in government. He understands how government works. We have a bright young team. We have a team with some experience, including that of Dr. Michael Darwell, who is a prominent and qualified physician. He has led the COVID task force along with Dr. Melissa Evans. And we believe everything that we have recommended is still right. We thought their more aggressive approach in terms of getting vaccines, we thought we ought to have had them faster. So we have them now. We are delighted that the United States government has donated some 400,000 doses recently. But we don't believe that vaccine is the only thing that we ought to be doing. We still believe managing the fundamentals of the pandemic is paramount. We still believe in mass-free testing for anyone who believes they may have been exposed. We believe in a robust contact tracing mechanism. We believe in providing support where people may have tested positive rather than going back to a two-room house with 10 other people to infect them. That's not a good way to curb the spread of COVID-19. We believe there ought to be a massive public education drive to help to manage the crisis, to make people aware of the vaccine, the benefits of the vaccine, and generally how to defend and protect themselves against COVID itself. So rather than spending $1 million a month in negative ads against Brave Davis, we believe that this government perhaps should be redirecting some of those funds towards public education.
Yeah,
those are the kinds of things that we would do. So if we flip the things we criticize, that is what we will do. The one thing I would say about Mr. Davis is that he understands who he's working for, and that's the Bahamian people. And what we will see in a government led by him, where I am deputy, is the use of all of the skills and talents available to us. We have a lot of new candidates with a lot of new bright ideas. My background is really building an economy and financial services and investments and attracting business to the Bahamas. We believe that we have to work on the two prongs of our current crisis simultaneously.
Let me ask this, though, Chester. I just not meaning to interrupt, but really wanting to get that succinct answer. What is the difference where people are challenged? Is that they're saying, well, not as the credibility of leadership within the party is taking a hit. Bahamians, your millennials in particular, are not very, quite a few. I always tell people that the ones who I know who are like myself, we don't have a party, we're kind of swing voters. We're that independent voter. A lot of them are like, I don't know about the Progressive Liberal Party. They know that they don't like this government. They just don't know what they're going to do about the next. How do you boost, or what is your strategy on helping people to understand or see that the Progressive Liberal Party is different from what they've seen before?
I think we have put our criticisms in. I think in the early days, people were asking, okay, what would you do or what would you have done? People want action. They want to know that there is a plan and there is some hope. And we believe we have laid out our economic plan that demonstrates exactly what we will do as a government. One of the things we've focused very heavily on as well is how do we execute? Certainly, we believe in bringing some private sector ideas to the table to be able to execute these plans. So an older gentleman in my community, when I delivered him my plan to drive Exuma, says, I'm 70 years old. I've seen plans all my life. What's going to be different? And my response was, it has to be in the execution of those plans. So I hope I'm answering your question, but the reality of it is that I can speak that for me, that we have good plans, and I know that we will execute those plans given the internal discussions that we are having. I'm pleased with the blueprint that we are going to be rolling out very shortly. We believe the main component of that blueprint is from months ago. I'm excited about the opportunities that's included therein. For example, reducing the cost of the electricity. For example, getting up to 30% of solar energy on the grid. These are progressive things. We're ready to get to work for the Bahamian people. There are too many distractions. There are too many political games at the moment.
And that's big.
I think you will have a government that's working for you every day rather than playing these games all the time.
You know what, though? I think as someone, every party that tries to come in, they always have a plan. And it's easy, actually, because each government seems to be getting progressively worse, right? Every government seems to be for many, I'm sorry, just speaking for me, I feel as if every government is just getting progressively worse. That we are kind of going back and forth between parties that are quite aware of the entrenchment of the system, quite aware of where the skeletons are, quite aware of how to maneuver. There's no attempt for the decentralizing of power. And I haven't heard that from the Progressive Liberal Party of the Prime Minister. How do we decentralize power from one person so that there is not this, where we are rubber stamping things through the GGs, what apparently seems to be the Governor General and rubber stamping things, where we are not having one person or always the minister being the one that is the sole power or within these ministries, and making things where promises like freedom of information, promises like an ombudsman's bill, promises like cannabis, promises like campaign finance reform are not just words. I think the Bahamian leadership that isn't just words, but that we truly can believe, or that they've given us something beforehand, that they've shown us beforehand that this is how we can trust you. There's a deficit of trust.
I think we have to, in all fairness, measure the performance of the Free National Movement against what they promised. It's perhaps unfair at this stage in the game to beat the Davis-Cooper administration with a stick that's intended for the Minnis administration. It was him who promised the Freedom of Information Act. He marched for it. It was him who promised to fight corruption. We've gotten worse in terms of the Transparency International record. It was his administration that implemented many acts that they have not followed, including Fiscal Responsibility Act. Fiscal Responsibility Council hasn't reported for March or July or ever before, for that matter. It was him who said corruption is number one, number two, and number three problem. And now we have a scenario where the international government says we have concerns, and it appears that it has gotten worse. So I think, if we continue down this trend, we will see a government that has failed the Bahamian people. And yes, we understand the skepticism of the electorate. Yes, we understand the frustration of millennials and business people. So after 4 years, have we advanced? Are we better off? And the answer is no. Have we done enough on the recovery for Dorian? The answer is no. Do we know where all of the hurricane money went? No. Do we know where all of the pandemic money went? No. Did we get those reports? Did the Auditor General get the reports? No. Did the IMF get the requirements under the terms of the deal? I think I can go on and on and on and on with this. But what I'm saying is that you have a government that has failed the Bahamian people. We are reporting for duty as the government in waiting. We do have very specific plans. We do have a team. We do have the will to improve our country. And we're asking the Bahamian people for an opportunity to demonstrate that we can do a better job.
Well, last question before I let you go. Chester Cooper, Member of Parliament for Exuma and Rhode Island, and of course, Deputy Leader of the Progressive Liberal Party. Based on what you know of House procedure, Mr. Cooper, do you see how the Speaker could be moved in the next session? This is
a very, very interesting conversation. I don't know if you recall when it was the opposition that moved a vote of no confidence in the Speaker. It was this government that turned around and moved a vote of confidence in the Speaker. So, if times weren't so serious in this country, this would all be laughable. But the reality of it is that we told them so. We made every effort to remove a Speaker that we thought was unfit. And now it's the sideshow. We don't have time in this country for sideshows. Now, based on my understanding, to remove a Speaker, you can do it through a vote of no confidence, but I believe only one of those could be done during a term. We've done that. The next option is to call an election. And I think at the moment, that is the only option available to the Prime Minister. He can do two things. Man up and find a way to work along with the Speaker as a separate independent arm of government, rather than believe works for him and is subservient to him. Man up and deepen democracy or call election. Those are the options available to the Prime Minister at the moment. And I believe that the only one that he might have the will to do, and hopefully he does it sooner rather than later, is to call an election. So we wait. We believe that the idea of a fixed election date is a good one. All of these cat and mouse and no, maybe I'll call it, or may only me one no, or maybe I'll do it next month and this and that and the rest is really nonsense. And I think we have to advance to that level. There has to be a serious conversation about the kinds of reforms that we needed constitutionally and otherwise to help to build a responsible country. And at the very beginning, you started to talk about the number of things that were left on the agenda that were now cleaned from the agenda. One of those things, coincidentally, is the Select Committee on Natural Resources. So we've talked about that and I don't want to upset you again, but we've been talking about that now for 4 years. We've been promised by this administration they were going to do it. But they appointed a committee. It took rather long to get to the point. And now he's abandoning that work. He talked over and over and over about cannabis and marijuana, and he's left that on the agenda. We've been fighting for 2 years for ordinary legislation to help to manage the pandemic after we get out the emergency order, so we can get rid of this competent authority thing he laid that bill, and now that's been wiped off the agenda. So I think it's political gamesmanship. It is regrettable. We have very serious national issues facing our country. I want to get back to work, quite frankly. So we have a proroguing of the House and no date. Now we believe that the date is 22nd of September. I don't believe we've heard the end of this, by the way. So let's wait and see what happens next. But I'm ready to get to work for Bahamian people. If it's in opposition and we are to be saddled with this prime minister and this administration for the next 6 months, then so be it. Let's get to work. But if he is minded to call election, I believe that the Bahamian people have made up their mind.
Yeah, I know we made up our mind on one part. I don't know if we made our mind on all parts. Chester, thank you so much.
My
Chester
pleasure.
Cooper, Member of Parliament for Exuma and Ragged Islands. Thank you so much, Chester. You're listening to The Hit Back with Nahaja Black. Chester Cooper joining us there. We also have Dame Joan Sawyer joining us. CA, your thoughts briefly on, and you have to unmute yourself.
And mute. It was a beautiful interview by Chester Cooper, and he explained exactly the position of the PLP, right? And then he also explained what was left or what occurred due to the proroguing of the House. I believe the FNM now needs, in turn, to have a tour, right? The same way how the viceroy of the PLP now is doing his tour and explaining to the Bahamian people what is happening. There needs to be a person of like mind who is equal to him, right? To go on talk shows and try to explain to the Bahamian people exactly what it is happening right now. There are a number of persons who are confused, saying what is going on here, and they need to have an explanation to them. This election cannot be won on social media. It will be won on the ground, and it'll be won by having confidence in particular individuals. So the FNM need to find people with confidence that the Bahamian people can trust and put them in the fore and say, hey, explain what is this madness that is happening, and that the Bahamian people can put question and say, well, I didn't like this. Explain that to me. And this is where we are. We do not understand what happened today. I tried to explain. I believe that the government wanted to have a new, fresh agenda where they have limited things to address. I sincerely believe that's what it is, right?
Yeah.
They want to concentrate on 1 to 4 bills and go forward with that, moving toward the election. And that's the only explanation that can be given. And someone needs to come forward and clearly explain that.
I hope someone sent you that.
No. I'm sincerely trying to analyze it.
That I don't even know where you got that one. That's bad. That was a bad one. But I'll go with you.
And I said in the future, you'll see that I assume they'll send someone.
You're probably trying to help.
No, it's not my place to help. It's my place to try analyze and try see if this makes sense. And that's the only thing I can come up at this present time. But I'm concerned. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I see the Speaker of the House had something today. I do not understand what exactly what it was or what it's intended to be. I see a number of third parties coming together in this COVID environment to do what exactly, I'm not sure. But they say it's deepening democracy. It allowed them to speak, right? But I'm not sure how it adds to solving the issues, what is happening in the Bahamas right now. And go ahead.
And my whole thing on that was, if we didn't have this debacle, many people would have there would have been a lot more people who wouldn't have considered it, you know? I mean, but I mean,
yeah, we would have ignored Mutri like we normally do.
No, we don't ignore Mutri. You ignore Mutri.
No, I just make fun of him.
For the show,
that's nonsensical with people. That's all.
So my thing is, though, that this became more, and this is unnecessary. You know, this is unnecessary. And worse is, it was a giant production of nothing. That's what this was. And yet to explain, and no, you don't explain something what you don't know is fact for me right now.
Yes, I understand. That's why
because here is where the issue is. We should not be trying to guess.
Yes, and we are.
There's last thing that we need to be doing is trying to guess or figure out where our government, where our servant leaders are, what they're doing. the only thing where Bahamians are right now is I can't bury the dead. I can't bury my family the way I wish. I wish I could.
Yes.
They died of COVID-19. We still got to go through this process. Or if my mummy was in the hospital and now the staff is on a sick out, that affected her lifespan. So all of this is where we are. You got to deal with these pertinent issues. You have time to sit at your desk and plan this? You ain't busy enough. You ain't busy enough.
And like I said, they would need to explain it. There needs to be a tour. Someone needs to explain what is happening.
Boy, listen, I think, boy, that's a rough talk.
So you don't be as passionate as you are, because thank goodness I was on the radio with you before you interviewed Chester, because I can imagine.
But I know I'm a pro now. Chester wouldn't get that blow. I gotta wait till the end of the show. I didn't wait till the end of the show. You just gotta know when your stage is set. That was my moment. I had to get it off, but I could wait.
I'm glad you get it off. Tomorrow's another day. Tomorrow's another day.
Everybody, we got Dame Joan Sawyer coming on. Just tune in, stay close. I might need you again. You never know. But we'll be back. All right, you're listening to the Hit Back with Nahaja Black. Dame Joan Sawyer, former Chief Justice, former President of the Court of Appeals, and never former anything else. Always present, always ready to go. Dame Joan Sawyer will be joining us right after the break. You're listening to the Hit Back with Nahaja Black, Guardian Radio, 96.9 FM. We'll be back.
Enjoy an elevated mobile experience with BTC, giving you
unlimited talk for the best conversations, unlimited data for all your online fun,
and unlimited roaming to stay connected while overseas.
For just $50 per line.
Unlock unlimited mobile talk, data, and roaming when you sign up for BTC Superfast Fiber Internet with speed starting at 100 megabits per second. Enjoy more great savings and value. Upgrade or sign up today. Visit any BTC store or btcbahamas.com. Conditions apply.
Are you ready? August 23rd at 9 a.m., you can begin investing with as little as $25 in an international technology company and an international food franchise on awakx.com. What do you need to get started? Just go to awakx.com to sign up by clicking on Start Investing. So what are you waiting for? Let's go! AWACX, moving people from consumers to owners. Regulated by the Securities Commission of the Bahamas.
It's the Hit Back with Nahaja Black. It's the Hit Back with Nahaja Black. It's the Hit Back with Nahaja Black. It's the Hit Back.
And we're back. You're listening to the Hit Back with Nahaja Black, Guardian Radio, 96.9 FM. It's been an interesting day, y'all, and so we're covering this proroguing conversation. I have joining me a favorite of the show and one of my favorite people ever. Again, bringing her on as a treat for all of my listeners. But in a time like this, there was no one else who you'd want to talk to. The ever illustrious Dame Joan Sawyer. Dame Joan, how are you?
I'm fine, thanks. How are you?
I'm great. Great as you can be expected. It's a pleasure to have you on, Dame. But you know what happened today? You know what happened this morning?
I was briefed by my grandson as to what transpired.
And like I said, briefed. Tell me your thoughts on what happened.
Well, I looked at your question on the screen just now before you came back on, and they said, what was the purpose of today's exercise, in effect?
Yeah.
And the only person who can answer that is the person who advised the Governor General to do those things. That would be the Prime Minister. He must know what thoughts went in his mind. I don't pretend to read minds at all, let alone at a distance, you know. I will tell you this from a historical point of view. It's the only time in our history that I can recall that we had two proclamations for the same adjournment, for the same prorogation. Usually the date of the reassembly of the House of Assembly of the Parliament is stated in the one proclamation that is issued by the Governor General, the date of prorogation and the date of resumption. That's because the minute it was open-ended, it left room for the speaker and other people to say, well, Parliament has been prorogued, so when is coming back? Are you suggesting that they're going to rule by proclamation without Parliament now? That was luckily it only lasted, but the point is one has to dot one's I's and cross one's T's when one is dealing with the public and with a document such as the Constitution. And that was apparently not done until a couple hours afterwards.
Yeah, done at 2:00. Dame Joan Sawyer joining us. So, okay, Dame, let's go.
So
Go ahead.
you asked me my views. I have no real views on what the Prime Minister may or may have done, or what his point was. It would be very, very disturbing if the whole purpose of the adjournment, the prorogation rather, was to deal with the Speaker's avowed intent on this date to hold an open Parliament, whatever that means. Because then it would be what I call ad hominem action. In other words, an action that's deliberately aimed at a particular person, which I don't think the Bahamian public pay their legislators to deal with individuals. They're there to deal with issues and major policy matters of national importance. If there was a problem with the Speaker, that the majority party in Parliament had a difficulty with him, I was wondering whether anybody had considered just making an application, or what they call it, a move, removed from office by popular vote in the Parliament. They elected him. You know, when they have a vote of no confidence in the Prime Minister or in a minister, could they have perhaps not brought a notice and a vote of no confidence in the Speaker if they thought he was creating problems unnecessarily, rather than going the whole route of having the Commissioner of Police get out and read a proclamation by the Governor General, who, again, I'm informed, has tested positive for COVID-19, but is asymptomatic at the moment. Have him last night or yesterday evening sign a document, 2 documents, right, between yesterday and today. One, the prorogation, and one, the resumption. To use the machinery of the Constitution in that way for a single man is a little bit much.
I like a little bit much, Dave. I like the word, a little bit. Let me ask you this. If memory serves, though, they did at the point where the Speaker the opposition brought forward a vote of no confidence. The government then, the administration then went ahead and brought a vote of confidence. In fact,
you mean in the Speaker?
Yes, for the Speaker.
When was this? I'm not aware.
Right after the opposition presented a vote of no confidence, and that was.
No, I'm saying what date was this? Was that today?
No. This was. I can't even remember when that happened. So a couple of years ago, maybe 20.
That's what I'm saying. But the point is that was a couple of years ago.
Yeah, so they can do it again.
Circumstances have changed.
Right, so that's not a problem. They can do this again.
You can always move a vote of no confidence as long as the person is sitting.
So then what? So, and that is great news to. I mean, when I say great news, that's interesting news. So then,
you can't ask me to answer for other people's views.
I agree. I
do not know.
Were you surprised by it? Were you surprised by the proroguing of the House?
I'm not surprised at anything this government does. As I keep telling the Bahamian public, I never voted for this government. I am not surprised by anything they do.
And the second,
Mrs. Black, I'm surprised. This government has, since the 20th of March 2020, been running this country as if we are all in jail, as if we all committed crimes. We've been under house arrest for that long. I'm not surprised even at the increases in numbers of people who have COVID, allegedly have COVID. Because once you lock people up away from sunshine, fresh air, proper exercise, good diet, you have a weakened population, which is more prone to be susceptible to viruses and other ailments. I'm not surprised that because of the steps that they've taken that the morgue, according to the newspapers, is overflowing with dead bodies. Because you had what I call the domino effect, in the sense that when you locked up the place on the 20th of March, and so many people lost their jobs and still haven't gotten them back, when it was time to bury their deceased relatives, where were they going to get the money from to pay the funeral directors? In addition to which, by closing those, by locking us down, they have prevented the funeral directors, where sometimes you could have seen them doing 2 or 3 funerals a day. You can't do that now because you have the curfew and people have to be off the road by a certain time. You've had problems of people collecting their money or getting money from national insurance to pay for, say, the casket for the deceased, have an effect on what is happening now. You know, it's like I never played dominoes. My husband used to play. But I also remember him saying that if you move a particular thing, then the whole thing falls down. You know?
Mm-hmm.
So when you moved the freedoms of people to do their business in the normal fashion, there is a spin-off effect. The spin-off effect is what you now have. And it will get worse before it gets better. Because I've not heard anyone come up with any suggestion as to how they're going to deal with it.
When we're joined here by Dame Joan Sawyer on the show with us today.
Mm-hmm.
You know, not when you heard of this proroguing, and I think what I'm trying to get to, and I'm trying to understand, Dame, and why I want you.
Yeah, I think I went off track just a little bit, just to bring you into the full picture of what's happening.
Right.
It's not just a prorogation of Parliament. It's what is the effect of it. Mm-hmm. The Speaker himself, I did see this, told you one of the effects, and one of the effects is to kill all the bills that had not yet been passed into law by the House of Assembly. Among those bills, unless I'm mistaken, were the ones where they're supposed to make full and frank disclosure about where the money got from the IDB was paid to and who got it.
There you go.
What was it, $250 or $450 million they borrowed from the IB?
I think it was 250.
Where did that money go? Mm-hmm. Who got it? You remember for the last several years, I've been asking who owns BPL.
Yes.
Similar situation.
Interesting.
This is not a one-off. This is characteristic of the behavior of people who have an agenda. The agenda is what I do not understand. This government came into power in saying that they were going to get rid of corruption. If what has been said about any of the things that have happened in the last, 2017 is now 2021, 4 years, right, under this government's watch, it's really, really questionable.
You said something, and
you're shocked.
Bills. Yeah. No, and I'm glad because I wanted the bills that were on the table. There are a lot of things. I mean, we just had the Auditor General saying, "Hey, I'm waiting on information. I'm waiting on information that we're requesting." What happens to those things that are presented? Is that Auditor General's report now no longer discussed?
They are not it can no longer be stuff. They don't exist anymore in law until and unless they're brought back as fresh documents. The House when it's resumed, when it reopens, when the session opens. During that 6 months they now, or whatever they have now, from September. It's less than a year. What you haven't done in 4 years, you will do in less than a year.
Not even close. You're not even going to try with some of those bills. And the resumption, without that resumption, what would have happened if we'd stayed prorogued?
Sweetheart, I have no idea. The Constitution does not contemplate that idiocy.
So how did they even come before us?
I don't even know how it happened that you could have had a prorogation without a date of resumption.
Or a dissolution.
No, a dissolution is one thing. Once that's dissolved, we know where we are. The Constitution deals with that.
Mm-hmm.
The Constitution in dealing with prorogation presumes that there will be a resumption date. Article 65 says this: each session shall be held at such place and commence at such time as the Governor General may by proclamation appoint. The time appointed for the commencement of any session of Parliament shall be such that a period of 12 months does not intervene between the end of one session and the first sitting of Parliament in the next session. So you have a whole year.
Sorry, Dame Joan, my
I blew your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I don't even know what else to say at this point. I feel like I need to meditate and stew on this.
You see what I'm saying? My problem with this whole idea of what has been happening in this country over the last 4 years is this attitude that anyone who criticizes or says something to point out the shortcomings in what they're doing is an enemy of the state. That is not so. I have gone to the route of actually writing directly to those people without letting the public know what I was doing, just to try and avoid the things that have now happened, with no result. Instead, I was told I had no common sense. You know, I have no difficulty with you calling me whatever name you want to call me. But believe you me, I have no axe to grind in this or anything, because I'm on my way out, as I used to tell them when I was on the bench. I have a limited time to be here. I do not know when God will tell me, your time is up, sister, come home. So I do the best I can with the gifts that he's given me to teach my people the right way to look at things. The right way to look at things is not because you like somebody to approve of what they do. If you love them, you owe it to them to show them when they're going wrong. Because if you don't, God will require their blood at your hands if they go to hell. If you want to know where that comes from, the book of Ezekiel. These are not things that Joe came from Joan Sawyer. These are things that were written long ago for our education and our learning. Because human nature has not changed in all the millennia it has been on this earth. We're still the same, in need of salvation.
Dame Joan, the
I tend to
Constitution. No, it's okay. And people are, of course, folks just love to have you on and to share your wisdom with us. Our Constitution, many times as we've sat down, you and I, we've talked about it. One of the things that you say is that there's nothing wrong with the Westminster. It's the people that are ruining or that is breaking the system.
They are pretending to like the system, but the substratum of which the system depends. The system depends on the integrity and the honor of those who operate it. It's an honor-driven system. Not necessarily national honor, not necessarily honors from the Queen, but that integrity that is in one's heart and in one's insides and no man can see, that causes you to act rightly even when no one is looking. Does that make sense?
Sorry, go ahead. Finish your thought.
No, I wonder if that makes sense to people, that we are called on as adults to be adults and responsible adults. It is not for us to pretend that something is right just because it suits our purposes. We must do what is right because it is right. Because if it is right, it will be for the good of all. But if it's for our convenience, it will be for the good of none, including you who do it. Because you will become entoiled and trapped in your own machinations.
I wonder, because and with this, the abuse of the system, right? What we determine abuse. Are we as the citizenry, or am I? Forget the citizenry, am I? When I look at something like this today, my anger or my frustration has moved to anger because I'm looking at our environment. Finances are in ruin. We're getting reports from all kinds of places in the world. IMF is wondering what's going on with the spending. Our own Auditor General concerned or saying, hey, listen, not concerned, but saying, hey, we don't know who some of these people are, the owners or beneficiary owners are of these businesses. Just with our healthcare system, with doctors saying it's crippling or it's collapsing. At this point, Dame, did we, did you see this as being something that was necessary at this point?
But you mean the prorogation of Parliament?
Yeah, I'm just wondering if you'd seen it.
As I indicated, I didn't think it was necessary, even if we didn't have those difficulties. Because there should have been no need to prorogue the Parliament. Like I said, if the Speaker was dissatisfied with him, you use the parliamentary. This is what May's parliamentary practice teaches you. You use the system appropriately, which is you don't use a sledgehammer to break a simple nut. You use the Constitution to deal with the Speaker? Really? Totally unnecessary. Totally unnecessary.
Some have argued, Dame Joan Sawyer, if you're just tuning in, former Chief Justice and also former President of the Court of Appeals joining us. And by the way, first female to do either. Said, hey, listen, but we're now distracted from the other issue that was before us, which was Minister Wells and the call for his resignation. I was curious your thoughts on that.
I was trying to avoid even going there because I saw the paper and I saw his attitude today to the newspaper reporters. He did not have anything to say to them yesterday on his way to cabinet. And I learned some things about him today that I did not know before. But be that as it may, he's one man. Mr. Wells is a man with his own ideas of what is right and wrong. My ideas of right and wrong were formed in me from people who were conscientized according to the Judeo-Christian value system, not his system. And so I leave that to him to deal with that when he deals with God, because he has to deal with God for himself. My difficulty with the gentleman is that I understand he's an engineer by profession. I understand that he's a very educated man and he might be very brilliant. I claim to be neither. I may have pieces of paper, but they don't mean anything unless there's substance behind them. I'm being urged to say it very slow. You see, some of us, when we are given a little power, and I got into trouble on your show last year when I said about a certain person becoming God overnight. People don't understand that all that there is, real power, comes from God. The power does not belong to any one individual. God has given each human being a certain amount of power. We exhibit that as a group when we vote for our leaders. And we try to vote for the right leaders. Our leaders, in turn, should be looking to God for true wisdom as to how to serve his people for the best, for them as well as for the people. Instead, it seems to me that over the last couple of centuries or more, we've been more alert to be pirates, shipwreckers, rum runners, gun runners, everything else but children of God. The only good thing I could say about Bahamians is that growing up, was my grandmother always said that we should be noticed as people who practice hospitality to strangers. Because like the Israelites, we weren't slaves in this country. We were strangers here. So let us practice it. Instead, we use strangers. We abuse our own. We use them. All the jobs that were being allowed to be done and people in the open air last year from the lockdown were people doing yard work. People who were doing brain work. They were locked in under thing. One woman in Foxhill went onto her porch to try and get air after curfew. The police tried to arrest her and book her for going on her own porch in her own yard. These are the atrocities that I see. And there's a small atrocities compared to what I am hearing.
Yep.
And these people are saying this is right and just. And they follow New Zealand, they follow Canada, they follow Barbados. Those countries, unless I'm mistaken, I may not have read their constitution recently, but I remember their constitution is not a codified constitution like ours. They could change their constitution anytime they wish by Parliament. Their parliaments are supreme, as England's parliament is supreme. Our constitution, on the other hand, makes the constitution the supreme law, not parliament. Parliament is required to act in accordance with the constitution. And if you think I'm joking, I'm not the only one to see it. A young man, I think he's young, because I don't know him. His name is Boykin G. Smith. He wrote a letter to the editor in The Guardian last week. It was published in The Guardian of 13th of August. And I read the whole article because it was well written as far as I was concerned. And he's saying everything that I've been trying to say for the last, 20 months? More? Why is the health management, emergency management bill unconstitutional? It's unconstitutional because it takes away all the provisions of Article 19, paragraphs 5 to 7 inclusive. And it purports to act as if Article 29 of the Constitution stands alone and there's nothing else referring to Article 29. And I pointed it over on more than one occasion. And people are criticizing me for it, but I am saying I only say what I see. I don't care what people think of me because it's not about me. It's about what is right, what is just, what is fair. If it is not those things, then forget anything. Without justice, there is no peace. And what we have had is perpetrated, allegedly legal injustices done to hundreds of people in this country between 20th of March 2020 and now. How many people in this country can't buy food for their children? How many people in this country can't eat? How many people in this country are homeless? And you are going to prorogue Parliament for what? Come again. I really wonder. Then they tell me they want to do this because they care about my life. They save lives. How can you care about my life and you don't care about those who are dying from hunger? A disease which can't be treated because the hospital is overrun with your alleged covered people. How can I be concerned? How can I be otherwise? How can I not be righteously indignant about the mistreatment of so many people at the hands of their leaders? And this doesn't go just for the Bahamas. This goes for the entire world at the moment, except for Sweden, because Sweden didn't close down. Their people say that we trust our government, and they remain open. I think South Korea did too.
We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, I want to talk to you about trust. I want us to talk about trust. Oh, I want us to talk about trust. We'll be back right after this. Dame Joan Sawyer, I tell you, powerful woman. We'll be back right after this.
Rejuvenate, refresh, treat yourself. Immerse yourself in total comfort. Pamper yourself. After all, you're worth it. Relax. Rid yourself of all life's stresses. At Baja Retreat Anti-Aging Spa, you will find everything you need to enhance your body and spirit. Call today at 323-6711 and begin your journey to serenity at Baja Retreat Anti-Aging Spa.
Tired of banks forcing you to use technology to bank the way they... Your convenience is important. So no matter what your banking needs, Commonwealth Bank's friendly staff are always available in branch for that personal one-on-one service. But when you choose technology, our online and mobile banking app offers you state-of-the-art functionality. The choice is yours. Commonwealth Bank. Bank the way you want.
Enjoy an elevated mobile experience with BTC, giving you
unlimited talk for the best conversations, unlimited data for all your online fun,
and unlimited roaming to stay connected while overseas.
For just $50 per line.
Unlock unlimited mobile talk, data, and roaming when you sign up for BTC Superfast Fiber Internet with speed starting at 100 megabits per second. Enjoy more great savings and value. Upgrade or sign up today. Visit any BTC store or btcbahamas.com. Conditions apply.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM, Nassau, Bahamas.
It's the hit back with Nahaja Black. It's the hit back with Nahaja Black. It's the hit back with Nahaja Black. It's the hit with Nahaja Black.
back. You're listening to the Hit Back with Nahaja Black. Dame Joan Sawyer joining us. Dame, it's a pleasure to have you on. It's always a pleasure to have you on. I'm sorry that it isn't better times, eh? One time we're going to have you on, and it's a celebratory thing, I guess, right? We'll find a show on that one.
I don't know how much longer my maker will leave me on this planet, you know?
I know. So we got to find something.
You have to. I've turned down every honor that's been offered to me except the two I accepted from Her Majesty the Queen.
Every honor.
Every honor.
Yeah, that's a whole other story. Go ahead.
From the church, from civic or thing, because I didn't come for honors. I came as a messenger. I came to do one task. And that one task was to make sure that the Privy Council came out of England and sat in the Bahamas, of all places, for the first time in its history. And that happened in 2006 for the first time. It happened twice. It happened twice more while I was still in the office. I don't know what God's plan is for this country, but clearly he's concerned about justice because he brings the highest court to the Bahamas for the first time. He didn't sit in Jamaica, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and anyplace else. In the little tiny Bahamas. But of course, the Bahamas, again, is the gateway between old and new. Here's where Columbus put his feet. Here's where Christianity met the indigenous peoples. We've been the gateway for a long time. We're still the gateway to a lot of the Americas.
That's something that I didn't even know, that we were the first place where the Privy Council sat
outside of England, outside of London, rather.
Really? I did not know that.
But I thought I told you that over and over.
Man, you may have, Dame, and it's so. I really need to take that note.
It didn't suit them because it was little black Joan Sawyer from over the hill who was doing it, who was the one who's leading. It wasn't a politician. It wasn't anybody who they favor. And when they sat in 2017, I understand they tried to make believe that was the first time. That was actually the fourth time they sat in the Bahamas. The second place they sat after the Bahamas was Mauritius in the Indian Ocean. And they had followed us in getting it done. We were the trendsetters. Nobody else. And I didn't do it because I had a political agenda. I was sent to do this by my God. And people, when I say that, they think I'm crazy. I don't play crazy. And I don't play with God. If I tell you God sent me to do something, I know he sent me to do it. Because everybody tried to stop it. Everybody tried to hoodwink it. Everybody tried to pretend it didn't happen. But God's word will never fall to the ground.
Dame Joan Sawyer.
To sit here. Yeah.
Dame, let me ask you this. One of the things
about the heebie-jeebies just then.
No, I gave you the heebie-jeebies?
No, I say you look like you got the heebie-jeebies just then when I was talking about what God does.
No. You missed my intro. Jeez. My God talk was strong in the intro too. This is because you find that when you're on assignment, when you have a work to do, you just do what the work is. I wanted to ask you though, one of the great things I love about having you on is that you always take us down. You're always educating, you're always teaching, and you bring historical context to your thought process as well. Things that you've learned and you've seen. Historical context, and you said even before, you've never seen where the proroguing, this process of proroguing the House has had two declarations, right? In your time, your work, and your working within the legal system, going through multiple administrations, have you ever seen what would you say has been the type of governing style you would connect this one to? We were trending and we were trying to compare governance style. Is this maybe not the most indifferent? Where would you rank this right now?
I do remember what I said, some years ago before the 2017 election. I did call the then incumbent administration the worst government I'd ever seen, having lived through the others.
Yep.
Now I say they look pretty good compared to this one.
Say it again, Dave. What?
They look pretty good compared to this one, because I've never seen such behaviors in all my born days. We've had one-man shows, three-man shows. We have people going into the judiciary saying they're going to do things in the judiciary. They're going to do that. The judiciary is supposed to be independent. Where is the independence of the judiciary? When you're appointing people who are clearly connected with the administration in force now, or with the previous administration, because you cut one, you got the other one. You know what you say about certain family trees in the Bahamas? I will tell people, I usually make fun of my own family tree in West End. If you cut a bush, you probably get a heel and a grant. Because they were the three main families, right? And they kept marrying each other. So when you cut one of these politicians in the political arena, you get the others because they're all friends and buddies. They all have they cut. I was on a show with David Wallace the other day on ZNS, and he was talking about him and his friend who had stayed with the PLP. He'd gone with the FNM, and he said he knew that his back was covered if the PLP won because his friend was there, and he knew his friend was covered if the FNM won because he was there. Now, the friendship is more important than people's business. The poison of friendships. That cannot be right.
No justice, no peace, though, Dame. You said it. No justice, no peace. How are we? Because this is where the frustration lies. The frustration lies.
And justice must belong to every man, or it belongs to no man. I'm not sure it's Martin Luther King Jr. who said that, or whoever said it. Justice must belong to every man, or else it belongs to no man. And injustice to anyone anywhere is injustice to everyone everywhere. Justice is a serious virtue. It is the linchpin that keeps civilizations together. Injustice is one of the things that God has said over and over that he hates. To use the word hate in connection with God is a serious matter. Injustice is one of the hates. And tokenism in religion is what he also hates. And this is what we have in this country. The two branches that are supposed to lead the people in the right direction have not been doing their job.
And the two branches you're referring to are the
governance. Justice. If you think I'm talking out of turn and not knowing history, just check the history of Israel. Israel is a weather vane for a lot of people, especially for me, because their history is really the history of the world. Israel was kicked out of the Promised Land twice in its history before. Once in 586 or so BC, when Nebuchadnezzar finished carrying off Judean royalty and whatnot and blinding Zedekiah. And again in AD 70, when our Lord had told them not one stone of the temple would be left standing on another if they didn't repent. And they didn't. And so the Romans destroyed the Israelites, and they went into captivity, and they went all over the world. It wasn't until 1948 they had a homeland, a semblance of a homeland again. Almost 2,000 years. The two reasons why were injustice in the seat of justice, and unholiness in the seat of holiness. Those things and expect God to bless it. You cannot have that. Sorry, my grandson told me to calm down and cool it down. If I sound powerful, it's because that is the power that has been given to me in my voice. It's not so much about me. It's how strong the urge is to let the Bahamian people know what is really wrong with this country. The wrong isn't just COVID. It isn't even the diseases that are affecting people. It's that moving away from the center of your being. The center of your being must be just and must be right. If it's not fixed right, then nothing will stand straight.
That's one. If it's not fixed right, then nothing will stand straight. No. You're about to cause church up in here, Dame Joan. You're about to cause church.
Maybe because they've shut the churches down, God is using somebody who they never expected to deliver the message that they have refused to deliver. No church is telling people this, except a few in the US. They're in bed with the politicians. Too many of them. Haven't you noticed how many churches are being used to deliver the vaccine? Their premises? Are they being paid for the use of their premises to deliver the vaccine?
I haven't heard of that.
But you don't know. You don't know. Electricity is being burnt. Somebody is there. How was that the cost of that being met? It's a common sense question.
Intimate facilities, you
God
should
is not dead, nor does God is not dead, nor does he sleep. The wrong shall fail. This is the fellow who wrote the song. I heard the bells on Christmas Day. The wrong shall fail, the right prevail. That was during the American Civil War. History shows us that when we do not remember our history, we are bound to repeat it. And I'm quoting somebody, I can't remember who said it. And we are repeating our history. We become again a nation of yes men and women and no individual thinkers.
How do we go? Let's go. I asked this question to someone, or not asked this question, but it was a thought of when were we last a people who, or were we ever a people who would stand up against injustice? And someone said Burma, but what needs to make us uneasy? If you're saying that there's no justice, if right now this is the worst group you've ever seen, where are we? What have we changed?
The reason I say that is if you checked the cars and things that certain people in this country are driving, especially those in the administration, government administration, they are top of the line and they're being run and they're late models and so on. If you check how they eat and where they eat, you'll see that. And there are certain enclaves in this country where the police apparently cannot go to arrest them even if they're being disorderly and disobeying the COVID rules.
That's right.
The enclaves are the multi-millionaires and multi-billionaires. People like, I'll use his name, I don't know where he has it, I won't use his name because I don't want to be sued. But they are them. Albany is one of them, Life Key is another, Palm Key is another. Yes, I do remember Miss Morse. I do remember when the Anglican bishop said, if you don't vote yes for the gender referendum, God would not be pleased. And he's doing foolishness now still. The Anglican Church they're the ones who started this same-sex marriage thing in California in the 1980s.
Yeah. I didn't want to get you off track, Tim. I didn't mean to get you off track. But you were talking about the cars.
They and their families can go anywhere, anytime, and do whatever they like. And the rest of us are locked up like we did some wrong.
You're right.
You can't go anywhere. And even if you get vaccinated and so on, it doesn't mean that you're not going to get COVID. They know that. But how many of them are telling you that? They will not tell you the truth about the vaccines. Remember I told you I will not take it in my body because Johnson & Johnson and AstraZeneca in particular were done using aborted baby parts. I have a conscientious objection to taking that. That is would amount to me condoning the murder of innocents in their mother's womb. I cannot, as a person who believes in God, I cannot and I will not be party to that. I cannot tell anybody else how to think, and I'm not trying to tell you. I'm just telling you why I feel so strongly about it, because no one has the right to tell me how to think. You will not go to God on that day for me. I will stand in my own shoes, and you cannot stand with me. God will judge me for himself, and I will not let them do that to me.
Dame Joan, before I let you go, I'll tell you that now. They want you to stay forever on the show, by the way, and you have been missed. It's been a while, right? This
I was getting into other trouble.
Listen, they say good trouble. Leadership and trust, right? There's a deficit, man. There's a deficit. A deficit is a good word, right? Deficit is a good word.
There's a deficit of trust. Or you can say trust is lacking completely in the present administration.
Recording. Did this help today? Did this help them today?
No. It helped no one. If anything, it helped the opposition parties. And I mean not just the PLP, but all those who are in opposition to the government. The PLP is the least one, actually, because I didn't see them taking any front row with regard to the demonstration.
Yeah, no,
in fact, they seem to be more in bed to some extent with the present government because they didn't even criticize the emergency powers bill.
And
The,
we
the,
have to
this
do
health emergency. In fact, the leader of the opposition, instead of standing for the rights of the Bahamian people, what is he going to say? It's time to bring it. It's time for them to bring this bill. This bill, which is apparently copied from New Zealand, which has no constitution like ours, which takes away all the rights of Bahamians to their freedom of movement, their freedom of everything, and gives it to a minister who can answer questions and whose driver gets an honorarium and front row doesn't get honorarium. Accident emergency nurses didn't get honorarium, but his driver gets it and his personal assistant, the secretary, gets it. Why? For God's sakes, why? If I sound to him, I'm not telling you the way it appears to the public.
I'm good with you. Just keep going. I'm listening.
How can we trust people like that? They came into power saying they're going to do this, they're going to do that, they're going to do that. More of transparency. In fact, they become the epitome of opaqueness.
Who? The epitome of opaqueness. My God, that needs a trend.
In other words, I don't know where that phrase came from. But in other words, they're the worst in terms of telling happening. There was the Oban case. There was the oil exploration case. There was in Grand Bahama during Dorian. We get all kinds of different stories. All kinds of money from different people to help with Dorian recovery. And then we find that they have all kinds of roundhouses or whatever they have that weren't erected, and people are still in Abaco, still homeless. What is this? Why can't we know who's getting these contracts? Who's benefiting from it? Why can't we know who's creaming off from BPL while we, the poor, begging taxpayers, have to pay BPL off these humongous simple reason that BEC still has the burden of the debt while BPL gets the juicy process. They get the profits. Why on earth should that be so? Isn't that criminal? If it isn't, it should be.
I gotta let that has to trend. The epitome of opaqueness. Oh yes. My, that has to trend. Y'all make that trend, please, because that is next level there. Dame Joan Sawyer.
Yes, ma'am.
The trust factor.
I'm calm in spite of how I sound, okay?
I know. Oh, but Dim, you and I, we go way back. I know when you're hot and when you're because you would have said, excuse me. You would have already shut me down from any question at any point. This, I'm happy that we're having this talk today and you're sharing your thoughts because for me, Dave, my mission was so high today that we're dealing with so much things. They can't even to just get this right, to prorogue and then have to have another to bring the resolution. Like, what are they doing? What are we doing? What are we doing?
Have you ever heard this saying, one step forward and 6 steps backwards?
Yeah.
This would have been more appropriate before 1946 when we got secret ballots for the first time. This behavior today would have been more appropriate then. Because in those days, the general election didn't take all the islands. It took place on different islands on different days. Because the fellas who owned land had to go in their boats and their planes and stuff down to different. So it was a land vote, not a personal vote. You see, your history is strange that 1946 and we back here.
And we're back here.
Mm-hmm. I was 5 years old going on 6. And I remember my grandfather saying to my grandmother, Hattie, we have to get the secret ballot. This was 1945.
Wow.
We have to get the secret ballot. Because the voting, the UBP, there wasn't a UBP, it was the Bay Street Boys used to use the vote as a way to control the population. And they did it by paying certain people £5 or whatever they wanted when they didn't vote for them openly. And it was a vocal vote in the schoolhouse. So everybody knew who you voted to. I'm serious. Check your history book. They don't tell you all these things. But this is why we are at this point now, because we didn't educate our children to avoid these pitfalls. We made them think everything was hunky-dory because we were the majority and we had the power. I'm sorry. I'm tired of hearing my voice sometimes because I've been saying these things for the last, then I became a lawyer in 1973, 48 years.
But it resonates, Tim, and I think more than ever, it resonates. The epitome of opaqueness, it resonates because under this mantra, under their agenda, we were supposed to have been able to see and be more accountable and more transparent, but very little answers. What happens on the House floor now that we've prorogued that session? What about all of those questions left unanswered?
The whole agenda is gone. The agenda's gone. They haven't been answering questions anyway.
They weren't.
No. And they keep hiding behind allegedly constitutional rights to free of confidential information. There's no confidence in crime. I don't care what the Privy Council said in Maycock's case. They apparently didn't even know about the case that I quoted.
Which case?
There's a case where a lawyer had been consulted, this back in the 19th century, by a person who wanted to do a crime. And in law, when you consult a lawyer, that consultation is usually privileged. You can't force the lawyer to reveal what was said in court.
Right.
It's one of the few things the law recognizes. But in that case, the lawyer had been complicit because he was asked before the crime was committed. So he knew. So he's compelled to say what was told to him in that consultation. And this is why I had said in the Maycock case, there's no confidentiality in criminality.
So any question that's asked that is regarding anything criminal, but there's no privilege for that.
There's no privilege if you're part of it. You're criminal. How can you have a right to do wrong, Mrs. Black?
And how does that relate even to that question?
Why would you prorogue the House? How could we know what your reasons were? You didn't give us any reasons. We're supposed to read minds at a distance? We're supposed to take it because you do it. It's okay because we supported you. A lot of my family members on all sides are FNMs, died in the world. I'm the black sheep as far as they're concerned. But I could care less. I love my family, but I'm not going to compromise my principles for anyone. If you have a good reason, tell us the reason. We will be the judge of whether we agree with you or not.
That's right.
And if you can't tell us, why should we accept your word for it? Because you are God? I didn't think so. You look human to me. We get so full of ourselves. We like the man that Jesus talked about, who said, I have so much. Look what I have. I'll build bigger barns. I'll pull down my barns and build bigger barns. And say to my soul, take your rest. You have enough later for the future. And God says to him, you fool, this night your soul is required of you. And these things, who shall they be? These people who are doing this, the people in this country, had better understand that there is a God who cares for each and every one of us, including them. But he will not tolerate their foolishness ad infinitum. He is not to be played with. He's not to be sneezed at. He's not to be taken for granted. He is God all by himself, and his glory he gives to no other. Remember, he is God, not you, not me. Honor him, obey him. If you've offended him, confess and ask for forgiveness and change your dirty ways, because he is God, not you. He loves you, but he cannot and will not compromise his principles for you.
Dame Joan Sawyer, Dame, thank you so much for the time today. I appreciate you. I love you. Keep being the Dame, right? And covered in God's grace. Thank you so much, Dame.
Thank you for having me.
Always.
May the Lord, all the people of the Bahamas, on all sides, may he guide and direct their thoughts so that they will learn to act aright and to come to him when they have offended him and ask for his forgiveness. Amen.
Amen. Dame Joan Sawyer, thank you so much. We appreciate you, everyone. Replay, love, like, follow, share this entire show, in particular Dame segment. Dame Joan Sawyer, thank you so much. Everyone have a great day. You're listening to The Hit Back with Nahaja Black. We'll see you tomorrow. God bless.